What gets measured gets managed. There is definitely an X factor in becoming successful both in and outside the gym. There's a common denominator that I think a lot of successful people, or I should even say a lot of successful outcomes, share. That common denominator is systems. So this video is about maximizing and optimizing your time as an athlete, as a lifter, even as a non-gym goer. This stuff is absolutely crucial to your success both in and outside of the gym. And I think even if you're somebody who is aware of time management, is aware of how to build systems in your life so that you can create more predictable, scalable, sustainable outcomes, you'll still probably find something in this video that you either haven't heard of before or acts as a nice refresher. So I highly recommend that you stick around. Now, the one thing I will say is this one secret ingredient, we'll call it, this one X factor is something that I picked up way too late in life. I'm 26 now. I'll be 27 in a couple months. My birthday is March 18th, 2025. So I'll be 27. I feel like I'm getting way too old, way too fast. But I wish I knew about this when I was 17. And I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. I fucked up a lot of times. I've been very unsuccessful in a lot of things. And like I said, man, there's a common denominator. And not only that, the path forward, the path to creating successful outcomes, it's this. Like, this is it. This is where it begins. All right. And so I think it's just so important to impart that onto people. And then, of course, grow with one another. There might be things that you know about, that you've learned, that you've seen, that you've picked up, that you've figured out that I could really benefit from. And so please feel free to share that in the comments. But without further ado, let's just dive right into it. So I know I told you that we're going to stick to the gym context, but before we do that, we have to discuss the elephant in the room, the big topic here that's overarching that, guys, this is implementable, like, if that's even a word. You can implement this in everything in your life. And if you do, you will see massive growth. If nothing else, you'll become more aware of everything that's going on in your life. And that's, I think, step one. The first step to solving a problem is recognizing that there is one. It's that sort of thing, okay? And what are we gonna talk about? We're gonna talk about systems, the importance of systems. Now, well, first let's put it on the board. Okay, so the importance of systems. Why are systems important? Your behaviors build your life, literally. And that's a tough pill to swallow because life is really hard. And sometimes we don't know why certain things happen to us. We don't know why we're in a certain circumstance or we find ourselves in a particular position, and it sucks. And a lot of times, honestly, why we ended up there, it's completely outside of our control. There are some things that we don't get to choose. However, the circumstances don't make the man, they reveal the man to himself. You have a choice now. That's kind of like the gift of free will. And maybe, we can argue about whether or not that's right, but the point still remains, we have the choice. We have free will. We have the ability to choose what to do with our circumstances. Why is this important? Because you now have power. You get to take power back from life, from the world, from the people who did you wrong, from your circumstance. You can take power back by making the choice to change your circumstance, to change yourself even. And what does that mean? That means your behaviors quite literally can build your life, build your future. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Abraham Lincoln, one of my all-time favorite quotes. That's true. It's so true. Don't get me wrong. There are circumstances, there are external variables always outside of your control that absolutely can fuck you up. I'm not going to lie to you, but that is life. Like, that's the suffering of life, and it sucks. However, it doesn't change the reality that if we want to get to be somewhere different than where we are right now, we're going to have to make the choice to do so. Chances are we are not going to just magically end up number one in the world at anything. You know what I mean? That's a choice. You've been given that choice. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. I am saying it's possible, and there is a very big difference. People think simple is easy. That's not true. It is simple. In order to change where you are right now, you might have to change who you are right now. You might have to change the choices you are making right now. That's simple. Like, that is simple, but that is also very fucking difficult. And so it's very important to recognize that you do have some sense of agency, some sense of power. Yes, life is really fucking hard and shit happens that we can't control, and a lot of times we don't expect. That's part of the cruelty, the coldness, the harshness of life. That's why love is so important. That's why it is so special when you can build bonds with people to go through life with. Like, that's what this is all about. So what does this look like? Instead of talking about this in a motivational kind of like superfluous way, let's talk about this like real time. Inputs equal outputs. That's systems. Inputs equal outputs. I'm gonna say it one more time. Inputs equal, and you know what? Actually, let's put it on the board because that's a big one. Inputs, they're variables that add up, subtract to, divide, multiply, whatever. they equal the outputs. Some of those inputs aren't going to be from you. The inputs are everything. Now, the reason why I say that is because you have to take into account the fact that, yes, there are going to be inputs that you are not completely in control of, but there's a lot that you are. And so instead of pointing fingers and blaming other things for the output, we need to take a look at all of the things we are in control of, all the things that we can take accountability for. That's what this video is going to be about. Building systems and thinking about all the things we can take accountability for so that we can try our best to create a more successful outcome, a more predictable outcome. Because mind you, if you leave everything up to chance, you have no idea what the fucking output could be. Maybe it could be good, maybe it could be bad. I don't know, right? But if you take accountability for all of it, or at least all the things that are genuinely within your control, now you can at least start to predict what this output would have been like, right? And that's what this is about. So inputs equal outputs. Now, the other really important layer here, guys, is you have to recognize your behaviors build your life, literally. Like what you do, the choices you make, they build your life. They create your life. A lot of people say that your thoughts are responsible for your reality. Why do they say that? Because your thoughts lead to behavior, which then builds your reality, you see? And that's why what you think and how you think is so fucking important, because it starts here. Now, there are some things that are so deep-rooted in our subconscious, so innate, we don't have to think about it. It's how we become efficient as human beings. Things like breathing. However, there's a lot of stuff that we are intentionally thinking about, or we should be intentionally thinking about, and we're not. My point here is we need to be very aware of the fact that our thoughts lead to actions, our actions create our reality. It's a tough pill to swallow. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's very tough. I struggle with this, but it's the truth. It is the truth. Mind you, you could do everything right and things could still not really work out. It's true. But at least you have a better chance at things working out when you've actually taken accountability for all the actions and behaviors that you are in control of, right? And all the things that can lead to. Okay, so we've talked about now the importance of systems and how your inputs equal your outputs. There's a couple more things that we need to discuss as it relates to systems before we get to the training stuff. And so let's breeze through that and then we can talk about the training stuff. What I want to first do is give you a very practical, applicable scenario of what systems could look like in your life and why they're so important. So the system is quite literally like the routine, the procedure, right? What do you follow? So again, this is the higher level stuff that I want you to be thinking about because it is really powerful, it is really important. But in terms of like the real nitty gritty like application of it, this is that, okay? So pay attention. So the system is like your routine, it's your process, okay? So we can put that down. System equals process, okay? Now, mind you, the process, the system, it's like the system of what, right? What is the process? The process of what? If it's I don't know, you want to sell a product, right? What does that system look like? Well, maybe the first is like product research, and then maybe you find a manufacturer, and then from there you sample the product, and then from there you get ready to launch the product. So you're gonna start marketing the product, you're gonna figure out the logistics of distributing the product, and obviously the costs of it, and trying to figure out how much you can profit off of it so it's a healthy business. And then you're gonna go about the actual selling of it, and then you're gonna review that entire process again, be like, where did we go wrong, where did we go right? And you're just gonna keep going and going and going, right? I may have missed a couple major steps here, but this is my point. That's what it is. System equals process, so that's the process. So the real-time application that I want you to consider is like grade school, right? So think back to grade school when you learned the scientific method. Now it has been a minute, so I may fuck this up, but if I remember correctly, scientific method, it was a process, right? It was a process for research, for learning new things, for discovering new things. So we have a system to follow. We don't need to just second guess at everything and walk in. We don't know what to do. We want to be able to create repeatable processes, systems. That way we can create more predictable outcomes over time, and then we can refine that process, right? Because remember, inputs equals outputs. If we don't like where we are right now and what we're getting right now, something's got to change, right? And so that's the whole purpose of refining the system. So Scientific method, you've got, you're going to observe some shit, something, and then you're going to ask a question, right? So, okay, I see this light is bright. Why is this light bright? Then I'm going to do some research, right? I'm going to look into it. I'm going to figure out, okay, what do you know about it? What do you know about it? Let me go with ChatGPT. Let me ask him why he thinks the fucking, I don't know why I said ChatGPT is a he. That's weird. But anyway, I think it's an it. But anyway, why is it bright? Whatever. And maybe it gives me some answers. Okay. So based on my observation, I ask a question. Then I do some research. And based on that research, I conduct a hypothesis. I start to say, okay, you know what? This light is bright, or I think this light is bright because there's a mechanism, there's a machine behind it whatever, okay? Next is, and it's probably like one of the most important parts, design and conduct the experiment, which is where your procedure is for that, right? So you're going to, based on some of the information you do have, based on your hypothesis and based on the question you're trying to answer, you're going to create a system, you're going to create an experiment, you're going to create something to do that can give you the answer. So that's the design and conduct the experiment, right? Then you do your test, you get your results. So now you have to collect the data, analyze the data, and draw conclusions about the data. And then depending on what setting you're in, you have to communicate that data to somebody. And that's it. Like that's the scientific method. That's a system. That whole fucking thing is a system. So when thinking about your life, think about everything you do that you want to create successful outcomes in, build a system for it if you don't have one already. If you do have a system, start to look at the inadequacies. Start to look at the inefficiencies. What could be refined? What could be improved upon? Like where's the energy spillage, for example? Like this doesn't make sense. And then the last piece I'll say here that would make the most sense for people in terms of refining the system, imagine when you go to the gym, you're driving from your house to the gym. And normally it takes, if you took the most direct route, it takes 10 minutes tops, 10 minutes to get to the gym. That's pretty efficient, right? Compared to all the other routes because it's the most direct path we've said. Now, what if you, instead of going to the gym, decide to take the longest route? And let's just say, for argument's sake, that the longest route is an hour, right? It'd be stupid. That'd be silly. But what if you never knew about that 10-minute route and all you ever knew was that hour path? Instead of just accepting that as reality, you start to say, there's got to be a better fucking way to get to the gym. Let me go on Google Maps. Let me ask around. Let me see what other paths are available that I could take. That's when you start to learn, like, oh shit, there's a 45-minute path. Wait, there's a 20-minute path. And then, oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me. There's a 10-minute path to the gym. This is perfect. You just refined your system. You refined your path to getting to the gym. You made it more efficient. That's the refining process. You understand? It takes some degree of awareness. That's why I'm saying this video is so fucking important. And I know this is gonna be a really long one, so I apologize, but that's why this video is so important. It's just like, and I promise this is the last piece and we're gonna move on. It's just like if you have like a morning routine, right? You don't even think about it, dude. You wake up, you do what you gotta do. For me, I wake up, sometimes I go on my phone, sometimes I don't. I try not to, but it is what it is. I get up, I go brush my teeth, I pee, and then I come back, and then usually I go upstairs, I have my breakfast. As I have my breakfast, I review all the things I have to do for the day that I laid out the night prior in my like little journal, notebook, whatever, and I start getting ready for the gym. I like to train in the morning. You see, so I have a routine, and at this point, I don't even think about it. It's routine. That's what we're doing. We're looking at our system. So I can look at my morning routine and say, you know what, I'm not getting enough done throughout the day. What can I change? Something's got to change. So where in my timeline, where in my routine, can I make changes? Can I change the inputs to give me a different or better output? Okay. Whew. That's everything on the importance of systems. And I apologize. I know it was a mouthful. But now we can transition to the gym and what it might look like in a gym context. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so the first major concept when it comes to becoming more efficient and having better time management and all that stuff with the gym is to be like ultra specific, be super specific, prioritize the goal. So get very, very serious, intentional, and specific about what it is you're trying to do in the gym. Very specific. When you don't have that many resources to devote to something, you have to be very, very intentional about what you put those resources towards. So you need to be very specific, prioritize the goal. And the next bit to this, and some of you may be thinking like, no shit, no, you don't understand. You have to be ultra specific about what it is you want. For example, I want to squat, bench, and deadlift a new 1 rep max for each of those, right? That's my goal. Like that is the most important thing to me. Cool. What this does is this knows exactly what it is we need to allocate all of our resources to, all of our gym resources to, right? There's no room for anything else. If you were to say, I don't know, my goal is just to kind of get strong and jacked and like, I just want to look better, whatever. It's a very broad fucking goal. Like there's a lot you could do. And so we need to be more specific than that. We need to be very, very intentional about what it is we are trying to build, chase, and, or not chase, but you know what I mean. So prioritize the goal. Now, the reason why this is also important is because there's a principle that you've probably heard about before that absolutely comes into play when it comes to your training and the degree of efficiency your training exhibits, okay? And that is called the Pareto principle. Is it P-A-L or is it P-L-E? I'm going to say it's P-L-E. I don't write enough. This is the problem. Anyway, Pareto principle. So the Pareto principle is important because essentially it's like this 80-20 split where 20% of the work yields 80% of the results. In other words, the remaining 80% of the work only yields 20% of the results. So there's a 20% of all the work you do that basically makes up for the majority of the production, the majority of the results, okay? That's important to know. Why? Because it means there's a lot of fluff, a lot of stuff that, yes, contributes to the result, the overarching result, but nowhere near as much as that 20%, the meat and potatoes does. And so when you're thinking about time management and you're thinking about being specific and prioritizing a goal, you need to think about what work is most important. Like, what is the most important thing for me to do in order to achieve this goal? So let's stick to our example of squat, bench, deadlift. We want to hit PRs in all three, right? That means you're basically a powerlifter and you want to maximize your strength for one rep in the squat, the bench, and the deadlift. So you have to think about, well, what exercises are going to be most important for that? And what's that training look like? And then just go down the tiered list of like, okay, what would be most important after that? And then after that, and after that. And before you know it, you'll have a whole list of shit, right? But mind you, you only have X amount of time to train. You only have X amount of energy. You only have X amount of resources, right? So when you're thinking of it that way, you can be mindful of the Pareto principle where it's like, okay, look, if your goal is new 1RM in the squat, bench, and deadlift, would it be nice for you to train 6 days a week and squat twice and deadlift twice and bench 4 and have tons of accessories and all sorts of stuff? Would that be great? Sure. But do you need all of that? Like, is that truly necessary? Maybe not. Where's the 20%? Where's the meat and potatoes that accounts for 80% of the results? You see what I'm saying? And that, of course, is going to be making sure you get your primary work done and that's programmed well. Your squat, your bench, your deadlift. Those are most important because you're trying to get better at the squat, bench, and deadlift. Next to that might be some of the most important accessories, right? You see what I'm saying? So when designing the training program, you start to realize like, okay, what's most important given my constraints? And then that's it. Now, if you had all the time in the world and unlimited resources, you could do everything. You could do whatever the fuck you want. You'll never have that, by the way, because you're human, you're not a machine. And so you will break down at some point. And so you always will have this equilibrium that you have to maintain between like how much work you can do and how much fatigue you're going to accumulate as a result of the work that you're doing, right? So there's always going to be a balance. But for someone like myself, like I treat training like a part-time job. Like I am training a minimum of an hour and a half every single day of the week, except for Sundays. And on Sundays I do, about 40 minutes to an hour's worth of cardio. So I guess that's still training. But so I dedicate lots of time, lots of resources to my training. Why? Because I'm trying to become an open world champion and I care a lot about this, and a lot of this also feeds my business and all this stuff. You see, so for me it makes sense. But for other people, they may not be able to do that and they may not want to do that. And so they have to be much more specific about how they spend their time. That's why being intentional, be specific, prioritize the goal, and keep in mind the Pareto principle, and that you can get away with just doing the meat and potatoes, that real 20% that will then account for the 80% in terms of the results. All right. So this is the second major concept as it relates to time management in the gym, but this is definitely the first most important piece to making this applicable when it comes to the gym. All right, let's talk about the next big concept. So this next big concept here is by far, when it comes to training, the most important variable we will talk about. What is this massive differentiator, this big X factor here? It is having a training program and a recovery protocol. The reason why this is so damn important, guys, is because when we're talking about systems, being efficient, being effective, being able to create better results and sustain that, a training program is literally that. Like, that is literally what the system is. It is the process. It is the procedure. You know exactly what you need to do, and what you need to do, that system has been designed around the goal, right, that you set. So we know that it's going to help you at least get towards there. It's a system designed for your goal, and it's measurable. So that means that you can collect the data, analyze the data, draw conclusions based on that data, and then improve upon the system moving forward. So meaning it can be refined. This is it. Like, this is exactly what we want. This is exactly what we need. So if you do not have a training program, you have to develop one, meaning either write it yourself, or you can buy one. You can find a free one online. You can buy someone's PDF, you can, whatever. You can subscribe to, I have a training app. It's $30 a month. And right now we've got 10 programs. I'm working on the 11th. That's going to drop soon. Video resources, the whole nine, whatever. I'm not trying to like plug my own stuff here, but I, of course, naturally believe in my programming. I think it's great, especially if you're in the strength and hypertrophy realm. The app is also great because it helps you track your features and all that stuff, but we'll get to that. Or you can hire a coach who's going to work with you one-on-one. Okay, those are like your major options, right? Write it yourself, get a program that's out there, or subscribe to an app, or hire a coach who can individualize everything for you on a very, very, ground level basis. You got to have a training program, guys. You have to know what you're doing when you go into the gym. Not only does this eliminate all the second guessing, not only does this eliminate the time you'd waste trying to figure out what to do next, this also saves time in the long run and what am I trying to say? It saves you the headache of making a lot of mistakes and not being hyper accurate about the decisions you make as it relates to your training across time. Because imagine you go in for 1 week and it's like, I don't know if that really did much for my training. But then you compound that times 52, right? So now you've got an entire year of weeks where it's like, yo, like, did my training help? Did it not? I have no fucking idea. I don't have the system. I don't have something I can look back on, analyze, and measure. You see what I'm saying? So if you had a training program, if nothing else, you'd have the ability to go back and measure a lot of that stuff and see what worked and what didn't. So it would save you 52 weeks worth of fucking up. That's huge, guys. That's huge. We're not on this earth forever. And we have things to do. We have goals to achieve. So I can't afford to just fucking waste time. Like, I need to know that what I'm doing is the best option for me right now. The best available opportunity for me to reach my goals right now. This is it. This is what I've got. So systems, having the training program is really, really important. And again, from a ground level perspective, obviously, if you know what you need to do before you even walk into the gym, you're going to save a lot of time in real time. Like, you're literally going to just know, like, okay, first back squat, next is a Bulgarian split squat with a barbell, next is a leg press, and then I'm finishing up with some leg extension. I'm getting the fuck out. Done. All in all, you need to have a training system. You need to have a training program and a recovery protocol. Like I said, these are just simply systems that you can lean on, that you can rely on, things that you know can and will create an outcome that's a little bit more predictable than if you just took a shot in the dark and just walked in and guessed at everything you did, okay? And the most important aspect of this is that it's all measurable, which is why I really, really recommend my training app, because everything literally gets measured. It's not just like a spreadsheet and you have, or a PDF file and you have like, your workouts listed and some weights and some reps. Like, this will track everything for you. So it's easier to look back and be like, okay, this worked, this didn't, and what's the progress I made and all that stuff. But you have to be mindful that if nothing else, the training program, the recovery protocol that you follow, it becomes measurable. And so that means that if you don't get the results you want, you can go back and look at your procedure, look at your routine, look at your system, and decide what went wrong, where, and when. That's huge, guys. That's huge. It makes you aware of the leaks. Look, man, if I'm gonna put my effort towards something, I wanna give 110%. I wanna make sure that this is going to work. And if it doesn't, at the very least, we learn something from this, right? I hate this idea of just being aimless and walking around and being lost and then waking up one day and be like, oh man, where's the time gone? And why am I not where I wanna be? Fuck that, dude. Fuck that. That's terrible. In that scenario, life is happening to you. It's not coming from you. And I'm very much, in support of the latter, right? I want life to come from me. But the most important aspect, or sorry, not the most important aspect, but one of the most important aspects of it is the accountability factor. So for a lot of people, they struggle with being consistent. Consistency is quite literally what creates results. That's why systems are so important, because they help you be consistent. So you have to be mindful of this. when designing your system, when you're designing your training program. Obviously, you want to build out something that makes sense for you, that you can stick to, be consistent with. But the reason why having a training program is super healthy, or super, well, it's healthy, but super helpful, is because it's laid out for you. It's easier to hold yourself accountable to it because it's done. It's what you have to do. It's there. It's right in front of you. If you have the training app, then the app is literally on your phone. It gets no easier than that to go into the gym, open up the app, do what you got to do, put in your information and get the fuck out. So it helps hold you accountable. And that's really important because the accountability is what's going to keep you disciplined and make sure that you are doing the things you need to do to get the results you want to get. Okay, so that's everything on this major concept, but I cannot stress this enough, guys. This is everything. If nothing else, if you're just looking to maximize your time in the gym and you need a step one, this is step one. Like, this is have a training program and a recovery protocol ready to go. Okay, so the final concept we're going to talk about here is all the little things that I think you can apply and you can do today to create change when it comes to time management and the systems you have in your training to just simply make yourself more optimized, more efficient, more effective, both in and out of the gym. Okay, this is where I think even if you have a training program, even if you are aware of all the things I've talked about in this video, this is where you're still going to get value out of this video, because these are just some little helpful tips and tricks that I think go a long way. And I have found to make the biggest difference when it comes to my own training efficiency, okay? So I've labeled this one, devil is in the details. Now, some of you may have heard this saying before. All it means is the real enemy is in all the little minutia, all the little stuff that goes on, right? A lot of times we see the big picture and we think like, oh, if something's going wrong, it must be something obvious, right? It must be something big. When really, if something's going wrong, it tends to be all the little things that are so hard to account for that just kind of fly right under the radar. So the devil is in the details. That's what that means. So you need to start thinking about all the little microtransactions that happen both in your life and in your training that can contribute to the output you're getting. So the very first one that I'm going to mention here is one that I'm sure a lot of you are going to be a little annoyed by, but it's true. The first little thing we need to talk about is timing your rests and your sessions. I think this is actually really, really helpful, and this is probably going to go the longest way when it comes to making sure you're on time, you're on track, like in your training. All right. It's as simple as it sounds. You're going to pull out your watch or your phone, go into the app where you can set a timer, and you're just gonna time your rests. And you can even time the entire session as well. That way you can keep track of how much time you are spending in the gym. It just makes it so that you're more mindful of it. For someone like myself, dude, I have a little bit of ADHD. I'm a very creative individual. My mind's going a million different directions all the time. And so it's very easy for me to kind of get like sidetracked and lost a little bit and lose track of time. Like I tend to be late to a lot of things. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's terrible. But either way, at least I'm aware of it, right? So part of being actively trying to do something about that means actively trying to be more aware of the time you're spending doing certain things. And rest time is really huge, especially when we start talking about limiting talk time. Now you might be thinking, Gavin, these things are so obvious, so simple, so silly. Like, duh, no shit, obviously. Okay, like I said, devil's in the details. You'd be surprised how much fucking time you're wasting by talking to everybody in the gym or letting everyone talk to you. Now, I definitely could do a better job at setting boundaries in the gym when it comes to talking to people. I'm very nice. I try to be very nice to people. I feel really, really bad about telling people like, hey man, I got to train. I shouldn't feel bad about that. Like I'm totally within my right to do that. But yet still, I tend to feel very sorry for the people who, I just don't want people to think I'm trying to be rude or trying to push them away or don't want to talk to them. I mean, sometimes I don't want to, but really I just want to fucking train, And so, yeah, I could do a better job of that, all right? So I'm not coming at you from this position of like, oh, I'm really fucking good at this and you not, and you suck and you need to listen to me. That's not it. But it doesn't change the fact that limiting talking time is going to be huge. And timing your rests and timing your sessions is really helpful because, again, it just keeps you on pace for that. When you're having a conversation with someone, you can be looking at your watch, and that then signals to them as well, like, okay, this dude's, he's on a tight time schedule, whatever. It also gives you something is like, you can literally look at your watch or look at your phone and be like, one sec, dude, I just hit my 3-minute mark. I gotta hit my set real quick. Like, it gives you something, it gives you an out in a way. But yeah, limiting the talk time is huge. Timing your rests and timing your sessions, huge, you can allocate this stuff ahead of time. You can think to yourself, like, okay, here's how much time I want to spend at the gym. Let me split it up by the number of exercises I have. On average, how long should it take me to do this? How long should it take me to do this? How much rest am I going to need for this? Et cetera, et cetera. And that's when you can start being more mindful of the session itself, and you can start timing all of that stuff. And yeah, and one little tip or trick I'm going to give you for both of these things, and I'm going to put it right here. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see that. For these two things, music playlists go a really long way. And you might be thinking like, ugh, what the fuck does that mean? That's just stupid. That's dumb. I would agree with you, except I've done this and it really helps. Create playlists. So in your iTunes app or Apple Music app, it's no longer called iTunes, Apple Music app, Spotify, SoundCloud, whatever you use, create music playlists that are the literal length of the session that you want to have. So in other words, if you want your session to be an hour long on the dot, make an hour long playlist. That way you press play on that playlist and it just runs through and you can see like, oh shit, okay, I've only got a few songs left in this playlist. I better get it going, right? And so that also keeps you mindful of it. And it kind of, like I said, it just keeps you on track. To me, it's a really easy way to time my session because I know like, okay, cool. And my average competition is going to be about 2.5 hours of me actually from warm-ups to the last deadlift. Like I need to make sure that this is the time frame I stick to. I'll just make a 2.5 hour long music playlist and then just throw that on and just bump through it. And I put the songs in there so I know what songs I have yet to hear and what songs I have heard. And so it just mentally, it keeps me on track, so to speak. So that's that. The next little concept here, and not everyone will be able to get away with this, but most of you will. Supersets. This is huge, dude. Supersets. Supersets, if you don't know what that is, or like giant sets, it's essentially just combining two exercises into one. So for example, if you had bicep curls and tricep extensions, in order to complete one full like set, you would do your first set of the bicep curls, then your set of tricep extensions. That's one whole set. That's a superset. Then set number 2, bicep curls and tricep extensions, set number 3. So in other words, you're doing this stuff back to back, as opposed to doing 3 sets of bicep curls, then 3 sets of tricep extensions. So supersets, trisets, that sort of thing, it goes a really long way. It's super, like, this saves a lot of fucking time. Now, it can be harder and less effective when it comes to your actual training, depending on what your training goals are. For example, if you're a powerlifter, supersetting your squat, bench, and deadlift, meaning like hitting your squat, then going straight to bench, hitting your bench, and then going straight to deadlift, hitting your deadlift, and that's one big set. I don't know if I'd recommend that. But depending on the weights and the sets and reps prescriptions, you might be able to do that. I've combined my bench and deadlifts before when I've been tight on time. So in other words, I just want you to think about this. If you're really, really tight on time and you need to become more efficient and you can't carve out too many other exercises, or you don't want to, instead you can simply just like amplify the amount of work you get done in a given period of time through the supersets, which essentially just means like less rest. So this one, train with a purpose, is something that I think it's a little less like tangible, but it's still really, really important. And the idea behind it is simple. Be intentional with your training. Be intentional when you're in the gym and you're performing your sets. Make sure that you are lifting with intention and you're attacking your accessories. You're attacking the exercises. It's actually a verbiage I learned from my current coach, John Song, who I've been with for a couple of years now. I think he's great. He told me this because I was like, dude, man, I feel like in my competitions, I'm getting a little bit more gassed, like my work capacity just isn't there. And he was like, honestly, dude, I think an easy fix is just to start attacking your accessories. Now, I attack my accessories when I'm doing the accessory. Like everybody knows, I push my accessories super hard. However, I don't necessarily attack them in between. And what that means is I'm not eager to just get right back to it. Right? I kind of let myself chill out and take some rest. Now, in some instances, it might make sense. Let's say I'm doing heavy weighted dips and I want to take 3 to 5 minutes in between each set. I'm worried more about the strength adaptation than I am about just exhausting the muscle. But in most cases, I'm really just wasting time. And so I need to be aggressive about getting to the accessories, right? And getting through them, not just kind of like, lazily going through it. And again, being intentional. I have a goal here. I am trying to be the #1 athlete in the fucking world. So why don't I train like that? Right? I need to be aggressive. I need to attack this shit like my life depends on it. Being intentional and training with a purpose goes a really, really, really long way. And again, all of this kind of works together, right? If you're training with a purpose, you're gonna limit how much time you talk to other people, right? And so all of this kind of coincides, but again, this is a really, really important variable here. Now we just have a couple more I wanna run through and then I'll let you go. But like I said, I told you guys this was gonna be a little bit longer because there's a lot to unpack here, but I think my number one goal with this video is to provide you as much value as possible because I'm picturing myself when I was in a situation where I needed a video like this and I wish somebody would have given me this. So I'm trying to, I don't wanna get too nitty gritty, but at the same time, I wanna make sure that there's enough here to actually get something from it. So the next thing here is going to be limit phone use. That's a big one. And then in terms of like everything outside of the gym, beforehand. And that's it, okay? We're gonna finish on these two. But limiting phone use, very obvious. How many times do you see people on their phones in the gym, myself included? I'm always on my phone in the gym. It's so easy for me to just open up Instagram, open up my messages, open up my email, because I have, like I said, a little bit of an ADHD brain. I'm in the generation where everything is just every time, every second, every whatever, right? So it's like, I need to be fucking doing something or distracted. My brain needs something to fucking numb it every 5 seconds. It's terrible. But what I've noticed is that absolutely eats into not only my focus and my ability to train with a purpose, but it also eats into the actual amount of time I'm resting or doing something other than the training itself. And so limiting my phone use is really important, making sure that maybe I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, maybe I limit myself on Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff, and making sure I'm not on those platforms. One thing that actually really does help me, believe it or not, is if I am filming a training session. Usually the way that I do it is I'll just set up my camera and film each exercise or film the first exercise of each, whatever, first set of each exercise. That's helpful too because it means I'm now focusing on that, not my phone. So limiting the phone use is really, really helpful. Highly recommend doing that. Like I said, just set some limitations on your phone so that you can't use Instagram or TikTok or whatever during that time. And just be mindful of that. If you want to, you can bring a journal and then creative ideas, anything you have that you think about, things you have to do, whatever, you can write it in there. Sometimes I'll listen to podcasts while I'm training as opposed to music, because if I'm listening to the podcast, like if I have a YouTube podcast on or something like that, it's just enough activity for me to like, the dopamine circuit gets satisfied, I guess. But, it's not so crazy that I'm losing focus and, whatever. There's all these like little tips and tricks here that you could do, but all in all, limit phone use. And then the very last thing we're going to talk about here is prepping things beforehand. And the reason why I'm lumping everything outside of the gym into this is because all in all, there's a lot of things you could prep prior to, but for all of them, you're just gonna wanna prep them prior to, right? So when you're talking about time management, whether you're a gym goer or a non-gym goer, when you're talking about being efficient, building systems, mind you, you have something you need to do, be prepared for that thing you need to do, so set a time to prepare for that thing you need to do. If it's meals, prep the meals, maybe have a system for that if you don't wanna go out and cook your own stuff, or you don't wanna go out grocery shop and cook your own stuff, have a meal prep company, whatever. Again, everything's prepping beforehand, even your training. Like I said, if you have a training program, great. Make sure you take a look at what's there for the day so you're mentally prepared for what you have to do. If you don't have a training program, make sure you've at least written yourself something prior to getting to the gym so you prepare that. Like I said, the music you're gonna listen to, all that stuff, you want everything prepped. I started to find a lot more success in my ability to be consistent with these videos simply because I started to pre-plan them. I don't follow a script. I don't have something to read off of. Everything I talk about is right off the fucking rip. It's right off the dome. But I do have like an outline, right? Like I do have like a theme, and then I have bullet points of like major points of discussion. Like what is it that I want to talk about that's going to provide value here? And I plan that out ahead of time. Sometimes it's the day before, sometimes it's a week before. And I could definitely be better about that. But that has drastically changed the landscape of my ability to be consistent and provide real value and get to the fucking point. The only reason why I've been able to do that is because I've been pre-planning and prepping beforehand. So that's the last piece of this, guys. Really appreciate you tuning into this video. I apologize if this one was really, really long. I did not want to break this up into a bunch of different videos and series and stuff like that. I just didn't think that would be worth it. I'd rather have this all here. If you'd like me to make more content about this and diving into the systems of things and how to refine that process and all that stuff, I'd be more than happy to. Again, I just wanted to give you some general value here. Couple things before we go. I do want to let you know that my chalk has not officially launched, but it is still available on Amazon. And I'm basically just waiting for the trademark application to go through, and then I can register the brand with Amazon, and then I'm good. So the chalk, guys, I'm super stoked about it. Let me see if I have a bag here. I do. Guys, I'm not kidding. Like this is the best chalk I've ever used in my fucking life. I mean, it should be because it's mine, but this is my brand. This is my chalk. I made this, so I'm very, very, very excited about this Iron Claw Gym Chalk on Amazon, and I use it in all my training. I've already hit PRs with it, and so far, if you look at the reviews on Amazon, people seem to love it, which is amazing. So I've had some of the best lifters in the world try it out, and I've got nothing but great feedback. So yeah, guys, I'm really excited about this. And then the other thing, of course, is the training app that is live, and we are launching the Discord with it very, very soon. In addition to some new programs, some new video resources. There's a lot of video resources similar to this, but they're more microscopic. They're more like nitty-gritty stuff, like little clips. You know, it's not like 40-minute long videos. It's more so like 5 or 10 minutes on a very specific topic. Maybe it's like how to use chalk. What do you use chalk for, right? That sort of stuff that I don't think is really worth putting on YouTube, I'll just put into the training app. But yeah, guys, would love to have you in that training app. And yeah, man, we've got more programs coming. I am going to be releasing PDF versions of my programs. However, you won't have access to, of course, all the tracking features and all the stuff that makes the app really, really worth it. And in my opinion, makes it special. So yeah, but you would have, I guess, the bare bones of the program. But yeah, guys, I think that's all the updates. We're 7 weeks out from nationals now, which is pretty cool. I'm excited, man. I'm excited to become a national champion and then a world champion in 2025. I believe that this is the year I can bring it all together. And for those of you who've been following my powerlifting journey, you know that it's been a very, very ups and down. It's been a roller coaster. You know, it's been quite a trek, quite a journey. We climb a mountain, we fall back down. Climb a mountain, climb a higher mountain, climb a higher mountain, fall all the way back down. I mean, that's but that's life. That's why systems are so important, because that's what allows me to get better. That's how I refine myself, how I keep going. And I won't lie to you, sometimes it's hard, man. Like sometimes it's difficult for me to see the value in keeping going. But I have faith and I trust. The best way I could put this is I will go where I am led. And wherever I am led, I will give 110%, period. Because my name's attached to it. So whatever I do, I want to do it great. And I do believe great things have been planned for me. That's at least that's what I've been promised, right? So yeah, I have some public speaking stuff I'll be getting into soon, which I'm really excited about. Currently doing some outreach for that as well, and refining my own concepts and my own philosophies and such. And I am also trying to upgrade and evolve that training ebook, that training mindset ebook that I talked about in previous videos. So that's getting refined as well. The 2021 version, the first version, that's still available completely free. You can find that link in the description. But yeah, I'm working on something that I can actually publish and bring to market, and that would actually really add value. So if you guys have if you made it this far into the video and you hear this part, please, please, please comment. Let me know you did, because it means a lot to me. And then also let me know if there's anything about the Training Mindset ebook you would like to see, questions you have, or things that you feel like you'd like to hear more about from my perspective, because that's really helpful for me to know. And as I'm revising and editing this ebook and building it into something truly special, it's helpful for me to be mindful of what you guys, the readers, actually need and want. So yeah, man. Whew, big one today, but I'm very grateful for you guys. And yeah, man, if you guys could share this video, I'm trying to scale, truthfully, complete transparency, I'm trying to scale this YouTube channel up to 100,000 subscribers within the year. I think it's totally possible. But at the rate we're going, we won't get there. So we need to make sure we're amplifying this and we're blowing it up. And if there's any critiques you guys have for me to make videos better and all that, please let me know. I will do it. All right, guys, I will catch you in the next YouTube video. Remember, burn your ships, go all in. See you guys next time.